Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. All right, guys. Well, yesterday, man, what a day yesterday. I was so dead wrong. I was like, okay, the CPI doesn't really matter, and I'm still not sure that the CPI matters, but we sold anyways. I was expecting things to turn back around, and they just went, and yesterday was a pretty massive increase in rates. Now we're getting a little bit of a reprieve. Let's come and look at the charts. Flows might be different going into the weekend. I can't believe it's already Friday, but I digress. So here's ZN. You can see just whoosh. It just kept going. They have clawed back most of that back, though. So here on Friday, could go either way. I suspect that it will be buying, and whichever way it goes, it could go a lot, because again, if the buying comes in, a lot of those CTAs might want to cover, okay? Because these guys, they have pretty decent profit on the year on this position, and they wouldn't want to lose it all, right? S&P 500 taking a beating yesterday because of the rise in rates. Not as much of a recovery over in the equities as we got in the treasuries. Oil taking a little bit of a jump up. I'm not 100% sure what's driving oil, but we are getting the kind of like hints that Israeli incursion into Gaza is imminent within the next 24 hours, so that may be a factor. Gold and silver are on the rise big time. They got hammered yesterday. Man, look at gold in particular. They got hammered yesterday, but they have come back with vengeance. So there is a real flight to safety sort of trade going on in gold. That really makes me wonder if it's because of Israeli incursion imminent. Bitcoin continues to languish around 2,700, and the dollar continues to be instrumental. They moved so much yesterday on that move. I don't know if they were being driven by the treasuries or if the treasuries were being driven by the dollar, but my goodness, did it go, right? So we should also check the Japanese yen, because the Japanese yen was kind of getting to like intervention levels. So my inverse, apparently the price that we're getting on the futures does not perfectly correlate to the forex price that everybody looks at. So I can't say that that's like 150, but it's getting close there. Okay. How are you guys? James, the 10-year stops everyone out and then comes back up. That's exactly what I feel like it's doing. Although let me show you something real quick here. Need to fix this chart here. It's not. I'm so OCD about that. I wish that NinjaTrader had a way to just like turn them into a perfect grid. Okay, let me see here real quick. Oh, we have JP Morgan's earnings call at the moment. Harker and LaGuard at the top of the hour. University Michigan sentiment at 10. Now, for me, I got to tell you, and I never tell you these things ahead of time, but I'm not going to be here for most of the stream. I actually have a class. The Amazon wanted to give the day job these classes, so I got a class to attend. So I will be doing that. I would really like to take a trade. I want some revenge, and I think that it would be long in the treasuries here today. But I don't think I should really mess with it. Yeah. So I should go in and check that out first. Dang it. Okay, hold on. I gotta do something. Okay, so anyways, I was gonna show you something on a chart, wasn't I? So if we come over to the ZN here, and we go to yesterday's, we look at yesterday's move. So this whole mess right here. I mean, look at the cumulative delta. There's almost a 60K change in cumulative delta. That's pretty wild. So somebody was selling it the whole way, and I don't know who it is or why. So I don't think that it was just a stop out. I think that, somebody was panicking. Maybe a bank had to bail. Maybe there's a sovereign wealth fund that is divesting itself of treasuries, something like that. Because that's a pretty consistent move. That there was a really, really big meta order there, basically the whole time. So keep that in mind. Okay, I'm gonna have to do some RDP here. I don't know what time it is at. Maybe it's not until I'm close to done, because it says 9 o'clock. No, it says 9 a.m. Central Time. You think that you where are you getting that one from? Yeah, I like James says, maybe it was a margin call at hedge fund. I think when they do margin calls, they're often mean about it. So I don't think that it was a margin call, but it could be the next worst thing, We need to stream at 3 a.m. EST. Yeah, when the European markets are going. There are definitely opportunities there, right? No sleep. I've been looking at, because it seems to me Discord will go through periods of lots of activity and not so much activity. And it definitely goes through like less activity in the summer, but I'm noticing that we haven't gotten as many new active people in Discord, and I think that it's because the rest of the market has finally caught up with us. Like everybody now post 2020 realizes that like Discord is by far the best tool to run any kind of like a trading room sort of a thing, you know? And so I think it's just competition. And when I go and I look out there at these other Discords, I'm like, okay, so why would somebody want to be in other Discords? Well, you get these places where there will be an expert or a guru, and they will set out some sort of a trade plan for the day, and they'll give you levels to trade off of and all of this sort of stuff. And, it's competition. And I want the Discord to do well, because to me, the one of the things that I'm most interested in and drives me the most is community and building the community. And I feel like that the trading community, the retail trader community, by and large is kind of trash. It kind of sucks. And why wouldn't it be? Because you got mostly new people. The turnover is so bad. You have mostly new people, and the people that have been around for a long time, they don't necessarily understand, the things involved, the social stuff involved in maintaining a good community over time, or nor do they necessarily understand how to like teach things to people. And so you end up with kind of like a dead culture. And that was why when I came in here, there was no real live chat for this sort of a thing whatsoever, right? So I want to continue to build that up and make it stronger. But I'm kind of like, how do I do that without feeding people bullshit? Because the room that I went in yesterday, they were like, okay, here's our plan. There's this SMA here, and there's this VWAP here. And so we're going to trade it. We want to buy just below 4,500, etc., etc., etc. Okay, well, so first of all, like that, it was like a ton of stuff just to arrive at 4,500 when I could just say, 4,500 is a really round number, and there's going to be a lot of gamma activity around there. So might be a place where they try and hold it, right? And then that 10-year auction came along and just absolutely destroyed that trade. I mean, maybe it comes back. I wouldn't surprise me if today we close above 4,400, right? Above 4,400. But man, it was like down, what, 60 points, something like that? This is terrible. No. At one point, it got to 55. So they dropped a whole 45 points yesterday, if more, and you count like the stuff before the open. So like, that was a loser trade, Terrible. And anybody can do that. Like this is the thing that's so like stupid about it, is that anybody can go and look at a chart and say, hey, these are the numbers that I think matter, and I'm gonna just build some plan off of that. Sorry, my eye is like watering a ton today. I don't know why, but it kind of like burns. I like got something in it. So what would not be BS? Well, we can talk about the things that we know that can possibly predict orders. So, what the CTA positioning is, what are the pieces of news that we have, what has been driving the flows over the past day, that sort of a thing, right? But to do that, to write something, I think that writing something up like that could be a few hours every day, possibly. And I don't even necessarily have I'm constantly struggling. Like yesterday, that was a huge shock to me. It was a huge shock. I mean, there's something going on that I don't know about. And that is the ultimate problem, is sometimes you're not informed, right? So I would think that I would, want, if I made a subscription service, I suppose I could take the money that I make off of the subscription service and put it into, improving the sources of information that I have to draw from. But, you know, I could do that. It would be a lot of time, you know? So I'm kind of stuck. I'm kind of stuck at what are some things that we can do to try and keep Discord competitive? Or do we just not play that game? We just continue to say, no, or we're just going to be the open, most popular open Discord, and other people can try and play this, you know, give you technical analysis levels to trade off of. What does steepening in the 5/10 signify? Okay, so overall, the market has been steepening, especially as we started buying again. So sometimes steepening can be the recession is imminent sort of signal. I'm not so sure that that's what's going on right now, though. The other thing that's happening right now, though, is that the yield curve premium is increasing. So if I buy a 5-year note versus a 30-year note, if I'm going to lock my money away for 30 years, you're going to have to give me a higher interest rate. You need to pay me for taking the risk of locking my money away for that long, because what if there's inflation and all of these other sorts of things, right? So that's called the term premium. And when interest rates were really low, the term premium was practically nil. And so that's where we had all of this stuff where, like, the yield curve inverted very, very easily, because if it's already pretty flat because you're not getting a lot of term premium for being on the long end, then it's really easy for that to just invert real quickly, right? So what has been happening is now, because the market has finally decided that yields are likely to be higher for longer, that even if we have a recession in 2024, that they're not going to be able to reduce interest rates back to this like zero interest rates like they had before. That's extremely unlikely. And so investors are now demanding a higher term premium, which means, you know, that the yield on the 30-year goes up, right? So if we think about that in terms of what we get over here in the treasuries, that means you sell ZB, you sell the 30-year, and if you're doing the spread trade, you buy the 5. And so that's steepening. So the steepening in the 5/10, I mean, you're seeing it across the yield curve, but I think that steepening is probably a major factor behind what's going on. Now, one other slightly more advanced thing that I want to note is that because the 10-year is so popular, let's say, you know, there is a lot of activity in that particular maturity. The yield curve tends to have a hump. It's like, if I were to draw a picture here, you know, you got like twos, let me do it like this. You got like 2s, 5s, 10s, 20, 30, right? And usually here at the 10, there's kind of like this little hump of sorts, where the difference between the 5 and the 10 is different from the difference between the 10 and the 20. Okay, so sometimes you can do these sorts of like three-legged trades where, like, you buy this one and you sell these ones. And what that means over here is sometimes you get these moves where, you know, they all moved up, but like the 10-year lags behind the other two, or the 10-year leads the other two. But usually it's that it lags the other two. So that's another thing that you might, because you mentioned the 10 and the 5. That's another thing that might be going on, is that you might be getting that difference in demand for liquidity between the 5 and 10 year, resulting in a little bit of an aberration in the yield curve that pretty much almost always exists. For directional trading, would trading the short end on a steepener be correct? So it depends on whether we're going up or down, because the whole thing. So generally speaking, when the treasuries are moving up, we are steepening, generally speaking, which means you want to buy the 5-year. You want to buy the 5-year. But we have seen here recently, these days, like yesterday, where we're moving down and we still steepen. And then you want to sell the 30, right? So if we're moving up, you want to buy the 5. And if we're moving down, you want to sell the 30. And it's the opposite for the flattener, right? For the flattener, which is what's happening most of the time. You want to sell, when we're selling, you want to sell the 5. And when we're buying, you want to buy the 30. Or the 10. Honestly, when we're moving up, we haven't seen this in a long time, but when we're moving up and you're getting the flight to safety trade, just go to the 10-year. Because what happens in that situation is you get so much volatility that the 10-year is like the only thing that you can even like hope to click in on. So, okay. Now James, so by the way, are you new to the stream, James? Because you're mentioning a lot of great stuff. I kind of feel like on one side you're like mentioning things I'm like, well, that's interesting that he thinks that we wouldn't have mentioned that or talked about that already. But it's good that those are the sorts of things that he's interested in talking about, because most people want to talk about technical analysis nonsense. And the most interesting thing that happened yesterday was that auction was the 30-year auction was just so terrible. And it had a big tail. So when they talk about tail, what is a tail? Let me show you here real quick. So the tail is essentially the difference between what the price was from the auction, the resulting high yield from the auction, and what the market was at that time. So you can calculate it and everything by saying, okay, what was the high yield? And then what was the yield in the futures at that time, or in the micro yield futures in particular? What was the yield at that time and what's the difference between them? And you could say that was the tail. Or you can just look at this, right? How much did they move when the results of the auction hit the market? Down is a tail. That was a huge tail, yes. Like it was like almost 24 ticks. In fact, I think if you take the whole thing, let me see here, from drawing tools, ruler, from here to here, yeah, more than a whole handle. Was absolutely insane move. I have no clue what's driving that. Is it that the foreign demand is just not there anymore? China's not buying anymore. Japan is maybe having to slow down and, if not, outright sell to deal with their problems and fund their problems. I'm kind of wondering. What I saw yesterday was a little scary. Although maybe it was scary just because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was doing it, you know? Yeah, the dealer takedown was way too high. So what Octavius means by that is like you have people that want to come in and maybe it's you, because you can go and you can buy the treasuries at auction, right? You put in your bids, and then there's like foreign buyers and stuff, and they put in their bids, and then the dealers, these are like specially designated people, take the rest essentially. And the amount that the dealers take is actually pretty small. I think it's only like 18%. But the amount that they took yesterday was like a lot. It was a lot more than they usually do. Investors wanted a bigger yield, so they didn't buy it. Lots of supply coming onto the market. It could be. You know, we are in such an uncertain time because everybody's picking up on it. I mean, they were picking up on it last week, but definitely now. Like if you go on the news media, for instance, everybody can see it. Like the treasuries, there is like some insane volatility, and there are some strong moves that like we can't explain. They're just way stronger and don't seem to match up with what's going on in the market. Flows much stronger than we would typically anticipate, and we don't really know what's driving it. So is it because of the steepening? Is it because the term premium is rising? Is it because there is too much supply and most of that supply is coming out into the short end of the curve? Is it because of like recession fears? I don't know. Like there's like a bunch of different things, and it could be a combination, or probably is a combination of all of them. You know? If so, more than 1 trillion in T-bills. Although the caveat that I would say, if that's your theory, then why was it that we didn't have too much trouble when it was the 2 and 5, and it's at the long end of the curve that it's not doing it? Is it because the foreign demand and everything all moved to the short end to deal with that incoming supply, and because they've already taken it on the short end, they can't afford to take it on the long end? That might be it. So if that is what's going on, then that means that we need to be extra careful when the 10 and the 30-year auctions are happening now, huh? Next month, we're going to be watching those really carefully. Let's see here. Bonds are telling us inflation is still a risk. Maybe. You know, it's kind of interesting because... Sorry, the news quack is saying something. It's talking about the Fed speakers that are going to be coming out. I would have really liked to have gone long the treasuries, but not around the 108 handle. So I kind of think that I might have already missed the opportunity to do anything today. So the big drama story that we had yesterday was after the CPI, Paul Krugman posted his chart, and this isn't the first time he's done this now. He's like, okay, we defeated inflation, essentially. So he has a chart of, you know, if you take CPI, but you only look at core CPI, and you take out housing, because housing is crazy and lagged and all of that sort of stuff, then core inflation is basically over with. And the counter that everybody just says is, yeah, okay, so inflation is not a problem if you don't drive a car, don't have to buy a house, and don't eat food, right? Well, it's a difficult thing because it really is core inflation that the Federal Reserve has control over. Those energy and food components are very volatile and are driven more by supply and demand in the market, and the Fed doesn't have as much influence over those things. And because those things are so temporary, they aren't very good indications of where inflation is headed, right? I think that's an important... He is picking up on something important. Even though I despise the man. I absolutely despise the man. I actually think he's onto something here. That the things that the Federal Reserve has control over are essentially saying that it's over. That the problem with inflation is over. But there's still this thing that's like, yes, but energy costs aren't subsiding. Food costs probably aren't subsiding. And in shelter costs probably aren't subsiding. So then what does the Federal Reserve do? What does the Federal Reserve do if we get into a long period where we maybe on core inflation, we're actually below trends even, or below target, let's say. But headline inflation is still out of control. What does the Federal Reserve do? Do they continue to raise interest rates higher to, and weaken the economy? until they sort those things out? Or do they change the target? Everybody keeps saying they're going to change the target. I think that'd be a really bad idea for the Federal Reserve to change the target, but it makes me wonder, because if we keep raising rates, then isn't that inflationary to shelters costs? Not exactly. So it's just as with bond prices, it's the same thing with houses. When interest rates go up, the prices of houses tend to go down. Okay? Because you have to pay more per month on interest, the cost of the, you can't afford to buy as much house. And so, the demand for housing is hurt by that, and the prices of houses decline. Now you might say, well, but that's not what's happening right now. Well, yes, because the demand, the imbalance between supply and demand is so extreme that the raising the interest rates really didn't hurt the housing prices much, if at all. It did. I mean, prices did come down in many markets, but it's still quite high, right? So higher rates should reduce shelter costs, but it's not because we're not building enough, right? And that's kind of the problem. Is like, why are these things happening? Okay, so that's what's going on with housing. We don't have enough houses. It's going to take us a long time to solve that. And our in Canada, they're only talking about it. In the United States, we're not even talking about it yet. So, the problem with housing in the United States is something that we could be dealing with for decades, possibly. Okay, we're getting Hawker's comments now. Yeah. Food, what's going on with food? Well, the cost to produce the food has just gone up in general. But then there's also economies around the world making it more difficult for us to grow food. These idiots. Making it so that you can't use fertilizer, and changing all, paying the farmers to not farm and buying the farms from them. And if not, like, just straight up expropriating the farms from them over in the EU. Okay. That's not something that you just solve overnight. And then oil, well, the Saudis have decided that oil needs to be higher than it is right now. So what are you going to do about that? So you see these three components, and do you see how, like, what the Federal Reserve does? It doesn't really help those three components. The only thing that the Federal Reserve can do in that situation is force us into a recession, right? But then even if they force us into a recession and then they turn stimulative again, all of those prices are just going to rocket back up again. The instant that you bring down the interest rate, everybody's going to try and flood into the housing market because they still want houses. So Hagar is saying a lot here. I'm not seeing anything like too surprising, and the market doesn't seem to be reacting. So hold on, I gotta move some things around on my desktop here. Do you think we need a recession, says Mr. Bond? Maybe. Okay. I'm hearing that the ECB is considering now not increasing the requirements. What was I can't quite remember what he was saying. Capital requirements. They're talking about not raising capital requirements. There we go. So I don't know how this is going to go if they're going to want my camera. I probably will just turn the camera off. But I think it starts at 8 o'clock my time. But that means I should be able to... Okay, any code samples for moving the stop to break even? Mine is not working. Oh, really? On what? On NinjaTrader? That's weird. Why does the virtual class link not work? Chicago time, 54 minutes away. Gotcha. It's in NinjaTrader. I definitely do have one, but I don't know where. Wouldn't be able to pull one up immediately. I think that what would be better would be for you to pass me, like, if you can get on Discord and go to the NinjaTrader channel, NinjaScript channel, and paste the bit of code that you're using. And I can look at your code and try and see why your code is failing. So it seems like you have the right thing. So once bar closes about entry price. Well, no, wouldn't you want it to be once the bar closes above a certain target, then you want to move the stop, right? And the key thing will be that you have to use here. Let me find it. And I'm assuming that you're using like oops, where are we? NinjaScript. Language reference. What is it? I'm assuming that you're using managed, right? Here we go. Yep, it's, well, you can see my time at the bottom of the screen. Make it nice and big. Okay, so there's a set stop loss method, right? And there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. For instance, you can do it with ticks, calculation mode ticks. Ticks away from entry, average entry, right? Well, if you want to move it, then probably what you want to do is price. So you can say, when the bar closes over my price, my target, then I can do set stop loss, calculation mode dot price, and then double value would be the entry value that you had. Have you ever used TT? I've demoed it, but TT is too rich for me. Not sure what you mean. So like this calculation mode dot ticks is like, I always want to have an 8-tick stop. So a lot of my strategies do that. Now here's the thing that you can know. If you have set stops and targets in your strategy, the performance of your strategy will almost always, and I really mean like almost always, follow the probabilities just based on how far away your stop and target are. Okay, like if you go and you do expectancy and you say, you know, the winner times the win rate minus your average loser times the win rate or 1 minus the win rate, right, equals 0, which is to say it's unprofitable. And if you were to solve this for R, you basically get 1 over 1 minus the R would be the ratio between win over L, W over L. So R is actually W over L, right? It will almost always come out to that. So if it's 50-50, if your risk reward is equal, then it will come out to 50%, right? If it's 2 to 1, then it'll come out to like 30%. When you use calculation mode dot ticks, almost always. Almost always. It's so funny. So you want to use calculation mode price. Calculation mode price. Specify the exact price that you want it. So bar closes, and then you're going to do set stop loss, calculation mode dot price, the price that you're setting it to. This one, does it have... Oh, yes. Okay, so another thing that you may be dealing with is the entry signal. So what you do for this is basically when you enter long, like let's just say that you enter long, okay, you can pass into it a signal name. And that signal name needs to be unique, by the way. So it should be like my long strategy and then a number. You can use a number like current bar. You can say current bar, and then you can save the name of that into a variable somewhere. You can say my current trade equals, you know, my trade name plus current bar, and then that's what you pass into when you enter long, right? So that when you come in, you set stop loss, you can pass that, you have that stored in a variable, and you can pass that into the set stop loss so that it changes that for that specific entry. Make sense? But here's the other thing, though. Maybe it doesn't matter. And in every situation that I've ever tried it, moving your stop up to break even reduces the amount of profit that you make. And every time I've tried it, I wouldn't say that I've tried it like hundreds of times, but a few, 3 or 4 times that I've tried it, it reduces your overall profit. I've actually, you know what I've kind of started doing more recently is timed exits. Is I say, okay, you get the signal, and then if you have not reached the profit target within 30 minutes, then you get out. And the reason for doing that is that then the numbers that you get in terms of, like, especially MFE and MAE and that sort of thing, have a lot more, those numbers are going to be much more pertinent to how good was the actual signal, right? If the actual signal is actually good, then it should be doing something within a certain amount of time, right? Because if you get in and then you end up holding the trade literally all day, then was what happened really have anything to do with your signal? Probably not, you know? So that's where it gets into, you know, this is where I think that you're kind of getting more into what I would call quantitative analysis than technical analysis. But yeah, doing all of these things will change the statistical the statistical properties of your strategy's performance. I'm using calc price with the entry price variable. What's the entry price variable? So when you enter into the trade, you store it to a variable, or are you looking at the current position and looking for what the entry price was and using that? Coming back a decent amount. I'd say that the treasuries of action so far has been pretty lackluster, though. Overall, for the session, they've been buying, though. I wouldn't mind buying it down here now that we're like below the regular session value area. So I'm going to take a stab in the dark here, but one of the things that I've noticed is that if you have a strategy that is trying to look at the current position variables, it seems to act differently live than it does on the backtest, and I don't know why. Okay, but you're using a stored variable. That's better. Yeah, so you store it to an instance variable, and then, you know, you set stop limit with the price and with the price. But are you using the entry signal? You have to be using the entry signal too. Actually, I'm not sure that you absolutely have to use the entry signal, but because I do have strategies that will, like, adjust the stop and target at the time. You know, like it will say, where was the last pivot, and that's how much risk I'm going to take, sort of a thing. It makes me think about that video I made about the smart money concepts video, because that's one of the interesting things about it is how they set what their stop and target is, and they all have different ways of doing it. And I kind of thought when I posted that video that everybody would start arguing about that, but it seems to me like the smart money concepts, people just didn't watch the video. Actually, let's go and take a look at that. Are we, you know, how has the video been doing since that time? Still pushing down. Okay, well, the number of views that it's gotten over time, it continues to move up. It's not bad. It's YouTube is recommending it on people's homepage, so that's good. It looks like the external traffic has kind of died down. I'm actually getting pretty darn good. What is the word? Audience retention on the video, but for the reach. Smart money concepts. I've only gotten 2 views from people searching for smart money concepts. Dang. So, for whatever reason, it's not reaching the smart money concepts crowd. So here's what you got to do for me, guys, is go out and watch tons and tons of smart money concepts videos so that like YouTube thinks that you're interested in smart money concepts, and then, you know, search for smart money concepts and scroll until you find my video and then watch that one. And then maybe we'll go, oh, the smart money concepts, people like it. And it'd probably be too hard to game the algorithm for that. I was expecting a war, though. I was super nervous about even posting the video. That's okay. You know, just this morning, actually, because I was kind of thinking like, I don't really know where I want to go. I'm like, what am I doing right now? I think that it's more like with my personal life, I don't know what I'm doing. What is like my goals here? I'm not sure I understand. But with the stream, I think I understand what my goals are, and it was just like it just was like revelation. It just came. I was like, oh, okay. You need to make the video about the chair, and you need to finish your table and new computer, and then you need to do interviews with some of these more professional people in the industry that you know, retail traders aren't hearing about, that would have really valuable stuff to share with us. That's what I should be doing. Oh, I hope I can get a lot done on that table this weekend. I'm gonna try to work super hard. Oh, you know, I keep seeing this comment, and then I get started on something. Have you ever used CTS? I think I've installed it once, but not really. A lot of these platforms, I'm like, I get in and I see, I'm pretty sure CTS is one of the Java platforms, and I'm like, eh. Hey, Jiwi, you're a little late. How's it going today? Spent your morning installing Windows? Oh, actual physical Windows. Okay. Of course, I assumed that you were reinstalling your operating system. I'm like, oh no, what happened? I recently watched a video about like what kind of sealer to use around your house. It was very interesting. Because I did some stuff trying to do some sealing around my garage and I used silicone. And I think that my overall conclusion was that I was correct to use silicone. So this is the most flexible. Silicone good for moisture barrier, yeah. So like the issue that I had was there's the garage and there's like the big wide kind of I don't know, I want to call it like a vinyl sort of white thing, and then there's like a seal that's attached to that, and that seals up against the garage door. So I was like, the door doesn't seem to be weatherized. Stuff is coming in, and when I looked at it, and I really had to like, peek, really get on my hands and knees and look. It was kind of hard to see, but then I realized that board doesn't go all the way down to the ground. The board didn't go all the way down to the ground, and so the result was that there was like this little hole, and everything was blowing in through those little holes around the two garage doors. So I went and got like a vinyl floorboard sort of a thing to, put it on, attach it, so that there was like a, I don't know what you call it, a molding on the bottom to cover that hole up. And then I also got like some, like this foam board insulation and put that on the other side in a spot where there was like where the hole was particularly large. And oh my gosh, it made such a huge difference. Like my garage actually retains heat now. So was pretty happy with my results on that. But when I was at the store, I was like, I think I'm supposed to use silicone, but I don't know. And the Home Depot wasn't very organized in that respect for that particular product. Took me a long time to find the materials that I actually wanted. Weren't where I expected them to be. But I used silicone, and I think it worked well. And it also, because I was also trying to seal that wood to the concrete. And I think it made a good barrier. Maybe I should have switched to my glasses today, because this eye is still watering crazy time. Depends on the environment where you live. I don't think I ever realized as a kid how unique the environment where I live is. Because it's a desert that gets a lot of snow. It's a desert that gets a lot of snow. And as far as I can tell, there's only really two places in the world that are like this. Utah and Iran. So, because I've always kind of felt like, why isn't it that clothes don't really match up very well and things like that? Well, it's because most places don't have a climate like that, right? So like in the Northeast, it gets cold and they get snow, and so they have clothes that are really good for wintertime all the time. And that's why a lot of like the fashion, because fashion is really popular in New York, a lot of fashion mirrors that. And then on the other side, you've got LA, where they do everything in cotton. And so there's a lot of, everything is as good in cotton. But what do you do when it's like desert one part of the year and it's freezing cold the other part of the year? And you kind of have to like study things out and find what works. Well, we do not get the bad weather like thunderstorms or tornadoes in the way that the Midwest does. There was a tornado in Salt Lake one time. So we sure got a lot of snow last year. I sure wish that I could have skied. But I think, even if Asher, my 3.5-year-old, continues to be an autistic mute, he's starting to talk. The other day he said, "I love you." Did I tell you this story? This is so effing weird to me. I was sitting on the couch and he has this really big car that, is like an ambulance or something, and it makes sounds and stuff. He picks it up and holds it over his head and throws it at the puppy that we got. We have a puppy that's, like 4 months old or whatever, right? Throws it at the puppy. Holy shit. I can only imagine, like, I think that the puppy would have been hurt if he had hit her. Yeah. Not okay. And I'm really concerned by these sorts of things because it's like, that's what psychopaths do and that sort of a thing, right? I got so effing mad at him because I don't know how else to help him understand that is completely unacceptable. So I yell very, very loud. I won't hit him, but what I will do is I will pick him up very roughly. I'll try and make it abrupt so that it gets his attention and he knows that was not okay. And that time he took it particularly hard. He was really sad about it. And when he gets sad, I'll be like, yeah, you should be sad because what you just did was really, really bad. My niece was like that when she was young and she's currently in jail again. Yeah. Well, maybe she has ADHD. So this is the thing that I don't know is that psychopathy or is that just ADHD, which is to say inability to control impulses. Oh, I should throw this thing at the dog, and that he doesn't even stop to think that like that could hurt the dog and that it's a bad thing. That he took it so hard afterwards kind of suggests to me that it was an impulse thing. That like he knows it's wrong and he wants to be good, but he just ends up being naughty, and that's a common thing for somebody with ADHD or autism. So I'm hoping that it's just that. But anyways, he felt I think he felt really, really bad. And before that, he was getting into everything and being really naughty. After that, he just wanted to sit down and sit next to me, which I kind of think is maybe a little bit of a, an attachment thing. But he sat down next to me and he said it with his binky in, but he said, "I love you." I'm pretty sure that what he was saying was, "I love you." He never said anything like that before. Like, I can't get him to say mama or dada hardly. And he like straight up said, "I love you," even though didn't know how to say it. That kind of suggests to me that like he understands a lot of words that are going around. He knows how to talk, but he doesn't. And so he doesn't know how to talk because he's not practicing it. You know what I mean? I'm hoping. So I have some hope. I feel like that things are getting better. So maybe a year from now, they'll be good enough that I won't have to feel bad about abandoning my wife and going skiing on the weekend. Because I don't think she wants to go skiing. Might not work that way, though, because she usually works on the weekend. He felt bad because he missed. No, I hope not. You know what? Like the thing is he would have hit her. The dog ran out of the way. Dog had fast reflexes. Okay, he's 3.5. And I remember when he was very young trying to get him to like do things like kick balls and, you know, because that's the age where it's motor skills. And I couldn't get him to do it. But he's got to aim, man. One day he had a rock. He likes to play with the rocks outside. He goes, because we have like we have gravel around the garden, and I have gravel. I have like a rail. What do we call these? You know, the pieces of wood that you put on a railway and they're treated, whatever, to last forever and stuff. I have a staircase made out of those with gravel behind it, and he will pull the gravel out and throw the gravel. So he had a rock, and we were sitting on the couch watching TV, and he just throws the rock at the side of my head. Or another day, he had the package of diapers, and he threw the package of diapers right at my head. And he every time that he does this, he hits me square in the forehead. You bought another share of TLT? I don't know, man. I've been looking at that and thinking about that, the TLT one, a lot. Because it does seem to me that like buying here should be okay. But but then I come back and I say, well, yeah, but it's higher for longer. So like, even though I think you make some, it's not like a huge, you know, there's probably better places I can put my money, is what I always come down to. Any reason why we had such high volume open in the E-mini? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. I'm gonna say, where are we at on the week in terms of expiration is next week. Should be doing 30-day T-bills. I don't know. I mean, if we go into a recession, then that trade's going to seem like awesome, right? Because you're going to get the 5% yield and you're going to get the capital appreciation on it. And yeah, you're going to be like, I don't think that you'll double your money from it, but it would be like a 50% winner in a year, right? If there was a recession. Sounds like he has good aim, maybe a future thing. I don't know. My hope is that he really is just severely ADHD/autistic, and at some point he will start speaking, and at some point we'll be able to put him on medication and help him that way. And that I won't have to take care of him for the rest of his life. And he is progressing. He is developing still. He's not developing the same as his peers, but he is developing. And I can see many things. So for instance, he has much more of an ability to sit down. If I would like to sit and play games again, and the kids could watch me play, Azure will do that. Ethan cannot. Ethan cannot stand sitting on my lap and not touching the keyboard. And he just comes over and he just wants to touch one key. You know, when it was Azure, it was just, I'm going to slam all of the keys and do nothing. Ethan will go for one specific key. What does this key do? What does this key do? You know, and then it's like, oh, it did something in the game that I didn't know happened, and I don't know what key you press to undo it. Yeah. Because I've been thinking about that, because again, as I've explained a couple of times this week, Epic Games laid a lot of people off, and I was involved in that community for a long time, and I miss the internet forums. I felt like what we had with the internet forums was so great, and what we have on social media these days is just so stupid in comparison. And the worst part of it is like how much harder it is to find a good group of people to play a game with, consistently. It's with matchmaking and all of that, the communities just aren't the same as they were when you built a community around like a hosted server or something like that. So I'm trying to rebuild that up, and so I'm thinking like, oh well, maybe if I get some people active in Discord and stuff, and then we can play like Minecraft or something. Oh, but like, do I have time to play Minecraft? Well, the kids will watch me, but I'm gonna have to do it when Ethan is asleep because he won't sit and watch. Asher will, but Asher will only sit and watch for a certain amount of time. I don't know. But then when I think about that, I'm like, yeah, but there's not like any super great shooters to play right now. It's like, well, there's the new Counter-Strike. I wonder how that's doing, actually. Take a look. I got 20 minutes until my class starts. The treasuries, they came down here, but I'm still not liking the action over there, so. Let's look at it by Twitch. This is probably not the best time to look, though, because... Browse. Yeah. Valorant. Oh, now that's interesting. It's not actually sorting them by popularity. Okay. Counter-Strike 2 is outperforming Valorant, at least on Twitch. So people are watching the new Counter-Strike. Interesting. Today's money is easy to... Oh, well, if you're buying the S&P 500, that probably is easy money, huh? So can I tell you a dirty little secret? Okay. When you're backtesting strategies, okay, the biggest determinant that I have found between how a strategy will perform on the S&P 500 is whether the strategy is buying the dip. Like straight up, if you just, I don't think that it's worked over the past year, but it's starting to come back. If it's just, are we down? Especially if like we're pushed low of the day and you buy the dip, man, and then it turns out. And that's been the biggest determinant of whether a strategy has been successful or not. They're not actually picking up on the patterns or anything like that. They're just picking up on buy the dip. Seriously. Yeah, the tick could help you. Well, the strategies that I tried doing off of the tick didn't really. It was just breaking. You know, it was just in line with the S&P. It wasn't really providing edge. I would kind of be interested to go back and do another back test to say when the tick is really high or really low for an extended period, kind of suggesting like a program bot, you know, and trying to go on with the momentum with that. That's something that I don't think I tried that would be interesting. Street Fighter 6, huh? That's higher up than I thought it would be. The Front. So I've never heard of that. What's that? Apex Legends has fallen down. Oh, they still got 43,000, but still. Overwatch is almost as much as Apex Legends, though. I'm surprised. Maybe that's because everybody's doing Counter-Strike, though. And I'm surprised that League of Legends still tends to be at the top. And Lords of the Fallen, I've never heard of that. What's that? Action RPG. Oh, it looks like a Dark Souls knockoff. Yeah, I think we're talking about... I'm referring to the Nicey Tick. It's rare for it to pin. Well, yeah, but there have been these periods where it's like every stock in the S&P 500 is down, is declining, and it goes for long periods, and so that's why a zero hedge uses the tick as a sign of program trading. Is like somebody is coming in and selling every stock in the index across the board. The front looks like a Rust copy. I feel like gaming is stagnated, man. Like the last big step forward that we had was Valorant, and then before that, it was Apex Legends, and other than that, I feel like that the shooter genre in particular has stagnated, and there's not really a whole lot interesting happening over there. And I keep waiting for a new game to come in that I can maybe latch onto, and it just doesn't happen. Still play HOMM3. Not sure what that is. So like one of the things that I find interesting is a lot of games are starting to change the way that they do net play. Like Counter-Strike tried to change things a little bit. What's this other game that's coming out? They were talking about using the real-time strategy games are talking about using rollback code. You know, there are some things. So like if I were to take a game like a classic game like Quake, you know, there are things going on in the computer space that would benefit those games, but like nobody's gonna make one. Nobody's gonna make a Quake right now. You could have put sell 108 evens in your newsletter this morning and reached guru rank. Yeah, probably. You know, it's so funny that like when I came up to 108 evens, because my whole plan was I want to go long, and it came up to 108 evens, and I'm like, well, it's too late to buy it now because there's going to be a lot of liquidity up there at 108, and then okay, I wait for a little bit. They're not really pushing 108 very aggressively, and so I just kind of like, okay, whatever. I guess there's no trade. I wasn't expecting it to come back, but it would have been a good trade, wouldn't it? Although I would also say that from the change in cumulative delta and everything else, that I would consider this move back down to be mostly noise. So I wouldn't read too much into it. So, but I don't know what, if you have ideas, you know, feel free to share with them in Discord, things that we can do to help Discord be more active. Because there is definitely good conversation over there, but it's not like super active. I think that what you're getting on our Discord is better than the other Discords, because they're just talking about nonsense, and we're talking about like what's actually going on in the actual market. But, you know, not as many people are interested in that, and how do you get them interested in that? And it's a tough challenge, right? my challenge is a difficult one, because I know if I think that I could go and start a YouTube channel on something else. Well, maybe I should try and prove it. Maybe I should try to prove it. What would I do it in, though? I have to think about that. I think that I could use all of the gimmicks that Mr. Beast does to make YouTube videos and build a YouTube channel up a lot more, you know. But if I do that with trading, the things that I'd be doing, they wouldn't be helping you, you know. I think that they would actually be actively harming you. I only opened Discord because I wanted to send you a file. Yeah, you know, that's one that I don't get. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, internet chat was just the coolest thing. To go into a random chat room and be talking to complete strangers about a specific subject, and there just be discussion about that specific subject, and meet new people and have like live feedback back and forth. And people aren't interested in that at all anymore. It moved to Discord. It used to be internet relay chat, and now it's Discord. But I haven't really run into very many Discords that are really like tight-knit active chat rooms the way that I remember with IRC. By and large, not as many, you know, like the people that view the stream, there's only a handful of you that actively participate on Discord. It's like two completely separate groups of people. I think if I was gonna do like what I could do is I think that so one of the things that I don't do on my channel that I think I would need to do to like reach a larger audience is like the storytelling aspect of it. Like there's a story to tell, and then there's a twist is usually the thing that like really gets people in, right? So I have a TikTok or it's a YouTube short that continues to do really well and gets a lot of views, which is like I'm trying to explain what an iceberg order is, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna buy it, and you know you're gonna see this and this, but then there was this huge limit move. You remember that one? It just got spiked up like super crazy. And they would all watch that because it's like there's a story to it and there's a twist in it, right? So if I started going through like individual trades, you know, talking about what's going on or going on throughout the week and telling the story to it, explaining what's going on with the economics and explaining what I'm doing with the trade, because there are some of those that I think are good stories, and people probably would watch those videos. I don't think that I'd be able to do one every week or maybe not even every month, but when they do happen, I could probably make videos and that would bring people in. Maybe. Discussing economics is not an interesting subject unless they see a financial advantage. That's why you need to narrative trade strategy more with it. I think that you would get a larger audience if you traded more, probably. Well, you know what's so funny, though, is I think that there are people hate watching me. Because, like, yesterday I had more viewers than average. It's almost always the case when I'm losing that there's more viewers. It's like, oh, Seth's making a big loser today, and everybody goes and shares the link or something like that. So that's why I think there's probably one or two people that are hate watchers, you know? Yeah, you need clickbait type videos. Yeah, exactly. Keep up the good work. Well, I appreciate it. That's what I was saying. I think the next thing that I need to do, I'm going to make a video about the chair. Okay. I need to finish my desk, and I might make a video about the desk and the computer and that whole project. And then I'm going to start doing some like machine learning stuff with it is what I want to do. But then I think the next bit of content that you guys would get that would be valuable is there's a couple of people that I want to interview. I've identified 3 or 4 people that I think I could get in for interviews that are professionals. And when I say professionals, I mean like people that are working for hedge funds, or, you know, or otherwise in the industry in some form. Interview them, and I think that would be the next bit of content that we get. I would love it if there was something new happening in the world of market microstructure that really, you know, I don't know if we're ever going to get the same kind of transformation that we did with the inelastic market hypothesis, but who knows? But on the same token, if you make a video and it brings people into the channel, and then because of that video, they go and watch these other videos that you guys appreciate so much, that's a video worth making, right? Because at the end of the day, my goal here is not to get people to trade, right? In fact, I don't want people to trade. I don't want competition. Right? I don't want competition, but I do want people to understand that the market is not efficient, because I think that we are making societal decisions based on this assumption that the market is efficient, and it's causing a lot of damage to our society. So that's why I want that out, you know? I'll work out something as part of your PhD. Okay. You do it. You do your PhD. We got Ash K, he's in school right now. And Salim, he's in school. So when you guys are all out of school, we can start a hedge fund. And I do kind of think that the long run. So here's another thing that I'm thinking about. I am saving up right now, and so I'm kind of trying to clear my balance sheet, I guess you could say, so that I can save even more, with the eventual goal of getting a hedge fund. And when I looked at it, I was like, I think that I might be able to save up enough within like 2 or 3 years to do it. But I things keep shifting. I don't know if I'll be as lucky, and I don't want to wait that long either. So I think that what I really need to do is I need to get to a point where I can start risking significant amounts of my own money each month. So I don't think that I would need to put a lot on this, but I don't know, maybe if we had 3,000 to 5,000 in here and did try and play the micro treasury yield futures like a CTA. You know? Because I think that the CTA path is like where the money is anyways. And I think that would involve something like multiple contracts in the yields, making a trade over the whole month, something like that, and managing the position. I would need to do a little bit more research to get things about some more technical stuff for the strategy. So I guess where that comes into is that like most of my research has been on the very, very short time frame, the market microstructure. And so now I need to start expanding that out to stylized behaviors that I can take advantage of over a month period. Right. In order to open up a hedge fund, you need a proven successful strategy. Well, actually, not necessarily. so let me qualify that. Oh, I've got to get going here real soon. Okay. A CTA strategy is like momentum, right? I go and I buy the strategy that the instrument that's up the most, and I sell the strategy that's down the most. But something that you might do is you might say, instead of going and buying oil specifically, I'm going to go and I'm going to invest in this commodity pool for a guy that does oil that I know does really well. Because I know that with him managing the oil, that I will do a little bit better than I otherwise would. I have better risk management and this and that, right? And so if you're really good at a specific instrument, what matters is not how much you made that year on the instrument, but how well you performed relative to the instrument itself, right? And in that respect, I think that if I was trading that higher time frame, and based on the stuff that I've done recently with, you know, these orders where I'm like managing multiple contracts and stuff, I think I can do a good job with that. So I think that it might be a worthwhile thing to do. I don't know if I would be able to, you know, I start a fund, I don't know if I'd be able to get anybody to invest in it, but it's worth a shot. Okay, there was the news. They moved down. 5-year inflation was 3% versus 2.8, and 1 year was 3.8 versus 3.2. So the inflation expectations were higher than expected. That could really hammer the treasuries here. So I don't know. I got to get going though. I'm going to leave the stream on, but I'm going to mute myself and turn the camera off, okay? I'll still be watching chat. So, you know, if you guys have questions, I might be chatting with you, all right?